Louder. Yeah, now you
Okay,
should have.
I'm
Got
doing
it?
it. Yeah, it's recording.
Perfect. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Anderson here. This was a very short notice announcement this morning, and so we're grateful that everybody could join us. Good attendance here, especially short notice. Let me just give you the context of this real quick. First off, Bill Stukey is a Crown Counsel resource partner. Bill is a longtime CPA and has been a longtime acquaintance and a great mentor to me. Bill has a team of one of the most seasoned CPAs that I have ever met. He's got many of them that have over 40 years of CPA experience that lived through the 1970s when we had 90% tax rates. They lived through the Nixon years, the dot-com years, you name it. So they've seen a lot of ups and downs. I've had a number of them in the same room together in the past, and it is high entertainment to watch them argue about tax issues. And it helped me understand that a lot of times there are no clear-cut answers to a lot of things. And so that is what led to this discussion today. So Bill and his team have worked all weekend to put together a summary of what we know now about what was passed on Friday. And there's a lot, Bill will share this, there's a lot of unanswered questions that the banks don't even know right now. And so Bill's recommendation to me, especially for the Crown Counsel, was let's get what we know now out there and in the hands of the dentists so the dentists don't have to give advice to each other on things that we don't know anything about. So the commitment from Bill is that he's going to give good CPA and financial advice based on what we know now, and he's not going to give anybody dental advice. He's going to let the dentist do the dental advice, and he's going to keep us on the straight and narrow as far as what we know today. So we're recording this. More information is going to be coming, by the day as we work through this. But we thought to be timely, this would help to give everybody what we know now as of 2 p.m. Central Time on Monday, March 30th, March 30th. What we know now, it'll change, but hopefully this will help. So with that, all of you should have received or taken a look at the 4-page document that Bill put together that is a summary of the two different loans. He's going to just do just a quick little update and some things that he has learned since he put that together. And then we're going to open this up to questions. So Bill, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. So we have two different options here that the government has given us. And one is under the CARES Act. It's called the Paycheck Protection Program. And the other one is under the Small Business Administration Program, which is the EIDL, or Economic Injury Disaster Loan Assistance Program for small business owners. You can apply for either package. You cannot accept both. There are a number of sources that have told me, including a banker that I just talked to at a national bank level, that said, go ahead and apply for both of them. But my understanding is, from what I've read, if you get the EIDL loan and you accept it and you draw down on it, you can always get the PPP loan later on and pay off the EIDL loan. I don't know if that works vice versa. I asked my banker about 15 minutes ago about that. And he said, we had the same question in our meeting today. And he said, we don't know. They don't have all the answers to this. And I asked him if he would join me. And he said, we can't join you because we don't know enough about it, and we can't stick our necks out there yet to say anything about it because it's all coming down from the government and the SBA. So things are changing as we live each day, and I'm happy to share with you, and please be sharing with us as well as you discover things from your banker and people that you talk to. So I think you've all gone over this a little bit, but So the PPP loan, we calculate as 2.5 times the average monthly payments of payroll costs over 1 year. So if your payroll costs were $20,000 a month averaged, you'd receive a $50,000 loan from the PPP program. And the PPP program can be forgiven under certain circumstances. The EIDL program, my recollection without looking at my notes is it needs to be paid back.
And Bill, just for clarification, because I think this was pretty clear, the EIDL is you apply directly to the SBA, right? And then but the PPP you have to go through a bank. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I also heard just on the phone recently, like in the last 20 minutes, from a client that said the website for submitting the EIDL loan applications is slow, and it's hearsay only. They said it's unsecure. They said mail it in. Well, I can only imagine what mailing it in means. Mailing it in is going to take forever.
Right.
So because somebody's got to process the paperwork as opposed to handling it digitally. So I'm just giving you what I've heard. But the other question I had from the banker was, so I know how the PPP loan is calculated just to determine how much I'm going to receive it for a loan. How do you calculate the EIDL loan? And he said, we don't know that yet. But this was his advice. He had a prom dress maker that's a client of his, and they make prom dresses for the March, April, May prom events for schools all over the country. And so his business is gone for this season. And he advised the client of his, customer, to get the EIDL loan because he would need a long-term loan as opposed to the PPP loan, which gives you 2.5 times your average monthly payroll amount. So I know what I wrote here. That was based on yesterday's insights and what I saw yesterday from other bankers on the internet. So things will change, and they'll change again after we're finished here. So, the biggest problem that I see, everyone, is I keep hearing people telling me, well, I have enough money to last me. I have $40,000. I have $70,000. I have $100,000. And, I had a guy just recently tell me, well, I've got $500,000. I said, well, you probably have enough to last for a long time. But I said, I still would apply for the loan. And I've had another dentist tell me, oh, no, but I don't want to apply for the loan. I don't want to apply. Well, there are a lot of things I don't want to do in life that I have to do anyway. I mean, I don't want to go to the dentist all the time, and I don't want to go to the doctor, and I don't want to eat certain foods, but I want to stay alive. And if we don't have blood in the body, if we don't have cash in the business, we die. So my point here is no one knows how long this virus is going to affect the world and what the recovery time frame is going to be. And our global supply chain of goods and services has been disrupted significantly. And some of these countries will take a long time to resurrect their business. And those businesses have supported us. And we all dealt with companies that support the dental industry and our industries over in the United States. Of course, I still wonder why we're running out of toilet paper. Sorry.
Bill, could you maybe just reiterate when you and I were talking earlier today? I know this issue has been addressed and some may not be aware of it. Can you talk about 401k, retirement plans, all of that in terms of how that plays into this?
Okay, now my understanding is the IRAs, and it may be the other retirement plans too, but I read through something on Sunday that basically was saying you could draw down $100,000 out of your retirement plan, especially your IRA. You would not be incurring the 10% penalty, and you could be taxed on that distribution over the next 3 years, or you had the option to pay it back like it was a loan. So that's something new that was out on the table.
Got it. So that obviously that would be something to discuss with your
CPA, tax.
planner and your CPA for
Right.
sure. So Bill, I'm just going to start hitting you with questions. Okay.
Sure.
And then you can fill in the blanks as we go. So you've already said that from what we know now, the EIDL loan could be paid off by the PPP loan. That's what we think.
That's what we believe right now.
Okay. And again, there's still more to come from that. Okay. Second question is, many of the Crown Council dentists online here have already temporarily laid off or furloughed their team members, right? Can you, from what we know now, can you address, I believe that's handled in the PPP loan, right?
Yes.
And how that's handled in terms of payroll, because I think it's okay if you've already laid them off. It has to do with payroll costs and bringing them back on board. Can you address what we know about that now?
Right. It's right here in the document. And forgiveness is possible if you've kept some of those people on, and they're comparing one period of time, the current period of time, to the prior period of time, as to whether the amount, as to determine the amount and calculate the amount that's to be forgiven. And it's right here on the screen if everybody can see the screen. The amount forgiven is reduced based on failure to maintain the average number of full-time employees versus the period from February 15th, 2019 to June 30th, 2019, or January 1, 2020 to February 29th, 2020, whichever one you select as a borrower. And it could be reduced to the extent, you can't include compensation for anything over $100,000 per employee can't be included. Reductions in the number of employees or compensation occurring between February 15, 2020 and 30 days after the enactment of the CARES Act are going to be ignored. Forgiven amounts are not going to be taxed. That's a great thing. And the same thing holds true with all the PPP loan. Whatever's forgiven is not going to be taxed.
I wish.
If you're, make sure you mute yourself. Yeah, if you just came on. If you got any background noise. Thanks, Bill. All right, Bill, can I keep hitting you with questions?
Yes.
Okay. For anybody that currently has an SBA loan, this is a totally separate deal, correct?
Yes.
So it would be dealt with totally different.
Yes, separate and apart from a normal SBA loan and any other loans they have.
Got it.
These are government-backed loans.
Okay. All right, next question. Do you know how they integrate with unemployment, both federal and state? I think that's more going to be covered in the PPE program, right? But there's not a whole lot of clarity on that yet. Right?
I haven't seen anything on that yet. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right. If you've been in business for less than 6 months. So I think you have to, the start date's February 15th, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it would be anything for the time, the period that you've been in business. So if it's annualized payroll, would it be the payroll from February 15th on?
I think some of this is going to end up, I know they're going to have rules and regulations and all this stuff, but let me give you an example of a dentist that I just got off the phone with. And again, I don't know exactly what those rules are, nor does the banker. But here's what happened. My dentist bought a large practice, paid $2 million for it, and closed on the loan about 20 days prior to this coronavirus taking place. And she said, I don't have any history of payrolls for my dental practice. What do I do? And my thought is, we're trying to rescue people. We're trying to rescue businesses. We don't want them to go out of business. The government is trying to do everything they can to help us. This is not a method of, there's no punishment involved here. They got to be reasonable about things. But I told her, I said, let's go back to the prior practice. We know the dentist. He's working there with you. Let's pull the payrolls for the prior practice. Let's pull the data and the statistics we have from that practice. The same people are there, the same location, everything else. And let's let them know when you acquired the practice, and let's apply for both loans and see what happens. I don't know what else to do, but that's the history that they would have. And they expect her to stay alive for the next so many months. So, again, they don't want the economy to drop.
Got it. Okay, next question. I'm gonna hit you fast here.
Sure.
Can we talk about associate dentists for just a minute? Because we got a number of them here that have associates.
Sure.
How does that work with the PPP loan, and up to what amount, right? In terms of salaries and how that works, because there's a ceiling, right?
Right. The ceiling is $100,000. So anything over $100,000 would not be factored into the average monthly payroll costs. But I also, and I'm just from recollection here, let's see if I can find it in this document, but I've read through this several times with so many different places. My impression was, even if you had contractors that you were paying corp to corp to 1099 amounts to, they were still to be included in your average payroll, monthly payroll, even though they were 1099, because these are people that have to be taken care of. It's an expense you incur in your business every month. Go ahead.
Got it. Okay, so that helps there. Here's the next question, Bill. When will the team start to get their $600, and how do they make that happen?
Ooh.
I'm not sure I know.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that. Sorry.
And I'm just going to run through these. Some we know, some we don't.
Yeah.
Here's a question from a dentist that says, I worked 2 days as an independent contractor, 2 days as a part-time employee on a W-2. How can I apply for unemployment if I'm laid off from both jobs? So you just apply, right?
I would apply, and I would tell them that you worked on a W-2 basis, on a 1099 basis, but you probably get the unemployment from the W-2 employer. Got
it. Okay, so next question. And again, the PPE thing's coming because it's going to take, they still got to create the application and the whole
right.
thing. But the question is, when you calculate compensation, does that include owner compensation? How does that, you have any idea how that's going to work?
I didn't see owner compensation excluded there. It's part of the compensation. Owners have to be compensated. That's something that we pay every month. So I would include it.
Got it. Okay. Next question on the EIDL application. Apparently it doesn't ask how much you're applying for.
Right.
So how's that?
Well, that's what I was saying. The bankers don't even know how to calculate it. I was trying to research it yesterday, and I finally asked my personal relationship banker, how do we calculate that? And he said, that's an SBA question that we have. SBA.
Okay. So we don't know.
We don't know, but they believe it's going to be a substantially higher number to help people that need longer term assistance.
Got it. Okay. So you may know the answer to this from Bill. So this is from Sherry, I'm going to call you out because Bill knows you, Sherry Ballard.
Hey, sure.
So the question is, so they've temporarily laid off 2/3 of the team last week, and they're seeing varied unemployment benefits showing up. Some are based on previous employment. Is that how unemployment works? How far back do they go?
They go back to prior employment. It's not just your place of employment. They're going back. I don't know how many years they go back, but they go back several months to calculate how much unemployment compensation someone should receive. It's a government decision.
Got it. Okay. Next question. If the dentist is an associate, they're not technically laid off, but the office is closed, so you're not able to work. Can you file for unemployment?
They should be able to file for unemployment unless they are an S corporation or paid on a 1099 basis.
Got it. So that would be, got it. Okay. Next question. How should we guide our team on, should they apply for unemployment regardless of the PPP loan being in place? And I think I know the answer to that one, right?
Right. They should file for unemployment. I mean, I can think of a situation where an employee filed for unemployment just because she was afraid to come into the office. She was afraid she might get this virus.
Right.
And then the employer laid everybody off. And of course, she ended up with unemployment right away, even though she quit. She voluntarily left the organization. Normally, you can't draw unemployment. When you say it's coronavirus, they'll let you draw unemployment.
Got it. Okay. So here's just an overview, Bill. I think you covered this at the very beginning. In terms of what we know now, and I'm just going to restate because one of the questions is, what's our best move? What we know now is the CARES Act, and which is, we're talking about the PPP loan, PPP, too many Ps, 3 Ps. That is still coming, and the SBA is still trying to figure it out. There's not even an application available yet. The banks don't even know what's going on yet. So that's coming. The EIDL loan, you can apply for that today directly to the SBA. So what you're saying is, go with what you got is available now, and you can always apply for the other one when it becomes available, and then they can be reconciled. Correct?
Correct. And I just got a text in from a dentist. And he was telling me, I'd like to quote it. Here it is. Just a minute. He said the SBA changed their website again last night to a more streamlined EIDL application that doesn't even require tax returns to be uploaded. It takes about 10 minutes to complete and gives the option to have the emergency $10,000 put into your bank account. Very easy. He says, thought you could pass the information on if you didn't already know. I didn't know that, and so it's passed along, and I'll include it in some emails that we have.
Got it. Okay, so I think Bill, there's still some confusion on team members and if they furloughed them or temporarily laid them off, if that impacts what's coming out. Maybe if you want to reiterate that, I don't think that impacts the PPP loan, right? If you've laid them off, this has to do with total payroll and bringing them back to work when this is over, correct?
Right. I mean, I think there are people out there that try to overanalyze this, and you know, I look at it very simply as we're in a crisis. We don't know when the crisis is going to end. We could end up with a loan. We could end up with forgiveness of debt. We could end up with a grant, whatever. We are all in this to survive. We're all in this to help each other, and if whatever cash it takes to make that happen. If you draw down the cash, decide to pay it back, well, great. I mean, then you're whole again. But we're trying to help each other, and I think we can overanalyze things and make it difficult. But the problem is there's so much uncertainty that you can't make those decisions.
Okay, so here's I think in terms of the unemployment question, let me just kind of summarize this is, and I hate to use the word should, Bill, but from what I understand and what you said, you shouldn't wait for the PPP loan to handle your payroll, right? I mean, we don't know how long this is going to last.
No.
So the best move here is go ahead and get your team members so they can apply for unemployment, because we're not sure how the money flow is going to work.
Right. I mean, I don't. If you don't have work, you don't want to keep people on the payroll. I mean, you want to survive, and you've got to turn your business around at some point in time, and you got to preserve cash. And you can't continue to pay people forever. That's why the government has an assistance program. That's why they have unemployment benefits. That's why they're going to have the additional $600, the additional monies they're going to send everybody a check in the mail for. So they're trying to help everyone equitably. And I think if you go too far in your business, you may find your business is going to be irreparably damaged. Right. As a result. So
okay, next question. If somebody has a second practice that is a separate entity, do they apply together or separate?
Under the PPP loan, you apply with affiliation rules. So if they own over 50% of any business, they would apply as a combined businesses, disclosing the businesses. And I haven't seen the form. The form's not available.
But it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot that still has to be defined, and there's really nothing you can do about it until they get it. They got 2 weeks to put it together, right?
Right, and each bank may have a little different version of the form.
Right. Okay. Bill, another unemployment question. Is there any way that someone would know what their unemployment benefits are going to be? Pretty tough, right?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So you just got to apply, and then they make the calculation.
Right.
Okay. All right. Next question. Let's see. Hold on. Okay. Again, these are payroll questions, which let me just hit them real quick. If team members have vacation time or PTO time available to them, is the employer obligated to pay them those benefits right now if they lay them off?
You may not be obligated to pay those benefits, but you may want to pay those benefits.
And I think that's a state-by-state thing too, right?
Yeah.
So that may be your payroll processor question, because I know Barbara Freet and I talked about this last week a little bit. So you might refer back, for those of you that haven't listened to that interview, it's on the Mentor of the Month site of crowncouncil.org. She's got some documents there as well that specifically have to do with employment law. So
some of these questions are human resource questions, they're banking questions, they're employment law questions. I've got a great employment law attorney that I've used before. Sherry knows who it is, and if you need a resource, I'm happy to help you with that.
Okay, and I'll give everybody your contact information when we're done. Bill, next question. Let's talk about supplies and lab expenses. Are they covered as forgivable expenses in these loans?
I didn't see that as being at all related to payroll.
Right, mostly payroll, right?
Yes.
Payroll, rent,
on leases, utilities, interest payments. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, follow-up question. Said I heard you say that employers with S corps cannot file unemployment. We're employees of the corporation and pay into the system. So why is it we can't apply? You want to clarify
Well,
that?
okay, if somebody has an S corporation and they have, this is my understanding right now under normal times. If somebody has an S corporation and they have not paid themselves a salary out of that S corporation, then they've never paid any tax, they've never paid any unemployment tax in. If you haven't paid any unemployment tax in, I don't know how you would draw it out. I mean, it stands to reason if you've never paid any Social Security tax in, you would never receive any Social Security benefits because they have none to record from historical records. They have none to pay you. But that they may have changed something now. But if you're not paying yourself, you would file for unemployment against your own S corporation. You wouldn't file against the employer that's employing your S corporation to work for you.
Okay, so let me just read this.
Go ahead.
Now I'll see if you agree with this. So this is from Chuck Skinner in Colorado. So employees will be getting a state minimum per week. This must be in their state of $300 and an additional $600 on top of that for a total of around $900 per week on unemployment. For some employees, this will actually be a raise. Probably the ones that will be getting less are hygienists. And my only question is, can we use the PPP to help supplement them the difference that they should be getting? Benefits paid out are a state-by-state thing. To be determined, right?
I don't, well, offhand, I would say no. I mean, to pay, in other words, bring their salary up to what it normally should be after the state benefit and the federal benefit, I would say no, but they need to check with their state to find out if that's okay or not. Because in the state of Texas, if you're unemployed and you work a few hours during the week, you've got to report that, and then your unemployment benefits are reduced accordingly, I believe.
Okay. You addressed this online last week about doing a mass, doing a mass temporary layoff for your employees. And I think there's a way to do that. You don't have to do it one by one, right?
Right, but if one employee is filed already, my understanding is you can't do the mass layoff. One of my dentists just told me that.
Okay, so that may be a state by state thing. This is from Sherry Ballard again, Steve, or Bill, that just says whatever your PTO policy is now in your handbook is what it is until April 1st, and then after that, the feds say you have to pay it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right. So if just the last question on the S Corp deal, Bill,
okay.
If somebody is an S Corp and they're also paying themselves a salary through payroll, then they could apply, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that is if you had payroll and you're paying all your payroll taxes on yourself.
Right. If you're paying your FICA, your Medicare, and your unemployment tax.
Got it. Okay. This one, I don't think we know about federal taxes being included as forgivable in the PPP loan. That's yet to come, right?
You're talking about, well, when the loan's forgiven, it's not taxable. That's my understanding right now.
Okay. All right. Next question. It says, if I have practice loans, like equipment loans, build-out loans, do these payments qualify for the PPP loan? If those loan payments are large and I get 2.5 times the average monthly payroll, is there a calculator that can easily help me determine whether the EIDL or the PPP is better for my circumstance? And I think your recommendation right now is just apply for the EIDL, and we'll see when the PPP becomes more clear, we'll know.
Right, and I think again, I think the advice about applying for both the EIDL loan and the PPP loan is valid. You should apply for both. You don't have to take both. And, you know, if you need the money and you decide, you know, you chose one over the other, you might ask before you take it, if I got the other loan, can I pay this loan off? And, you know, figure out in advance what your alternatives might be.
Correct. Okay. Bill, we haven't addressed this, but I think it bears mentioning in case anybody does not know this. Most banks are giving a 90-day deferral on loan payments, including mortgage payments. That's kind of become standard if you just request it, right?
Right.
So if that's something you haven't done yet, that's most of them are being pretty cooperative here to figure out how to make it work for you. So if you haven't done that, that would be an action item.
Hey, Steve, what was that again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Okay, so most banks right now are doing a 30 to 90 day, most of them 90-day deferral on your loan payments. So whether that's commercial loans, mortgages, whatever it is, so if you call them, and the waits are long, but if you call them, some of them actually put forms online that you can fill out. So if you can get through, most of them are doing a 90-day deferral on loan payments. So that's a phone call.
You know, I could mention one other thing here that it applies to the state of Texas. I don't know about other states, but the real estate taxes, if you're over 65, there is a special form that you can complete, and you can actually defer all your real estate taxes and roll those into the value of the property. When you're deceased and the property is then sold, all the real estate taxes get paid. So you could defer your real estate taxes if you wanted to, if you were over 65. Go ahead.
Got it. Okay. I would say on all of in terms of all the paid time off, all the payroll issues, as far as the PPP loan is concerned, I think we're going to get more clarification on that in the next 2 weeks, right, Bill?
Yes.
I don't know that anybody's in a position to make those declarations yet. So I think that will that's coming. All right, clarification question. If somebody's going to continue to train their team and keep them on the payroll for about 20 hours a week, should they recommend that they apply for unemployment, and then can they use the loan to pay for those 20 hours a week out of the loan?
That's like 2 or 3 answers there. So,
yeah.
I mean, can they still draw unemployment and work 20 hours a week? Possibly. Can the 20 hours a week apply against the forgiveness of loan? I would think so.
Got it. And we'll know more. All right. So let me just reiterate, just so there's clarity. We've said this a couple of times, but in case you didn't, this will simplify things. So the EIDL loan is available now. You apply directly to the SBA for that. They've simplified the application. That's available now. What Congress passed on Friday was just passed on Friday. And the SBA is working with the SBA banks that have been approved to do SBA loans. And that loan will be done through banks, and that has yet to be defined. So you can talk to your banker all you want, but they can't do anything about the PPP loan yet. They don't have an application. They're waiting for clarity. Bill mentioned at the beginning of the call that the bankers he's talked about today are not going on the record saying anything because they don't have enough information to do anything. So you can't do anything with the PPP loan yet until the application's available. You got to go through your bank if they've been approved by the SBA to do SBA loans. All right. So one of the suggestions is, call your bank today, get yourself on the list to make the application. So when it's available, you're in the queue. Lot is moving fast here to figure it out. So if that helps, I think that, for me, I think, Bill, the biggest thing you shared with me early today is This just got passed on Friday. A lot yet to be determined before he can even apply for it. And there's a lot more clarification, interpretation that'll come, right?
Right, right. I mean, for those that came on late, I'll just say that I talked to a banker 15 minutes before I got on with all of you. And I actually talked to him earlier on Sunday, asked him if he might join me, and he said he wasn't able to. He can't do so according to company policy because they don't know enough about it yet, and they still had enough questions internally that they can't answer the questions. But he gave me a few good answers about 20 minutes before I got on here. So
got it. So Bill, this is a comment from Dale Boehner. He said that his accountant sent him SBA 7A information form to complete as a starting point.
Yes.
That might help. So that might be a question for your accountant, your CPA.
There's a form 5 and a form 5C that they complete. I believe it's for the EIDL loan.
Okay. And I think he was referring to the PPP loan.
Okay.
So that might be a question for your CPA.
Okay.
All right. So Greg put a link. If you're looking at the chat box, Greg put a link on there for the EIDL loan, if that helps. And that's been streamlined over the weekend, I guess, so that it's a little bit easier to do that. So, all right, Bill, thank you for being available to answer questions. I think you've covered at least what we know now. With your permission, Bill's working, overtime here. And Bill's a great Crown Counsel resource partner. He's been very active on the email network and is going to answer a lot of questions moving forward. Here's his email address if you have further questions. And we hope this helps. I think the biggest thing is, since this is so new, obviously there's a lot more that needs to be defined before the PPP loan is going to be approved. So,
can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I was the one that asked about, continuing to give your employees hours, because right now is the perfect opportunity to have them train online, especially some of these courses.
Correct.
What would you suggest as far as the hours where it wouldn't affect their unemployment? Because from what I hear, we should be able to advise them to do the unemployment thing. It's just to do that, we're going to miss out on this huge opportunity to train.
Right. So here's Daniel. Here's my understanding, and Bill, clarify if this is incorrect. You can temporarily lay them off, and they can still work. They can apply for unemployment benefits, and then whatever you pay them during that time then goes against their unemployment benefits. Okay. Right. So then then the Workforce Commission or whatever it's called in your state would then, you have to report that, and then they deduct that amount from whatever benefits they would have received. Does that make sense? That's my understanding, at least in Texas. Even if maybe different in different states. Yeah, but that's my understanding. So if they're temporarily laid off, it gives you the flexibility. And again, it's state by state. In the state of Texas, if they're temporary, it's called temporary layoff. It's different than a furlough in Texas. But a temporary layoff, they can still work, fewer hours, but then it's deducted against. So again, there's different definitions in each state and different things you can and you can't do. So, so hopefully that gives you some. Again, you need to work with either your payroll processor or human resource, whoever you rely on for that, because every state is different. So you got to make sure you're dialed into what your state is doing. This has been recorded, so we're gonna put it on the Crown Counsel website. We'll give you a link on the email network. Obviously, a lot more to come here, and so we're gonna keep this updated. And Bill's staying very active, and again, there's Bill's contact information, and hopefully that helps. So more to come. Thanks everybody for joining us. It's an interesting time, And we're trying to stay up to date and give you as much as we can as it becomes available. So stay tuned to the email network. More to come. And Bill, thank you again very, very much.
Thank you all.
For all of your help and your wisdom and pulling all that together over the weekend. Hope it's helpful.
I'm happy to help all of you. Anybody needs me, email me, call me.
Thank you.